I'm Edie Lush here in the Davos Pavilion, Hub Culture, second day here at Davos. I'm very happy to be joined by Josh Lerner.
It's great to be here.
Jacob Schiff, professor at Harvard Business School. Tell me about your new book, The Architecture of Innovation.
So this book looks at something which is, I think, near and dear to all of our hearts, which is the topic of innovation. I think we all care about innovation because, essentially we all know that US, UK, wherever you look, our economies, let's just say it, are not exactly vital, and we need to get that sort of growth. And I think when you look at the history of even the last 100 years, growth in the US and in Europe has really come from technological innovation, new ideas, new ways of managing stuff. The problem is that, in a way, the two big engines of innovation, the two places where innovation has really taken place in the last half century, have been the corporate research lab and the venture-backed startup. And in both cases, the sort of engine seems to be sputtering, and in some cases, one might even say it's almost broken. So what this book does is really look at what's wrong with the innovation process and how can we fix it.
Where do you think it goes wrong at the moment?
Well, I think that you can look at the venture back as an example. We have a situation where the amount of money going into venture capital has fallen quite a lot. And the reason is the returns just haven't been there. It seems the bulk of the money gets invested at the wrong times. And while there have been a few very spectacular successes in areas like social media and software more generally, when you look at a lot of the stuff that's our big problems in our society, things like energy or materials or health, the venture model just doesn't seem to have really worked there. People have tried again and again, but the returns just haven't been there.
And it doesn't seem like government is the answer either.
No, I mean, the governments have tried lots of programs to boost innovation, but usually what seems to come out is that while they do a great job in terms of increasing inputs, how much money is spent, if you look at what we really care about, which is the outputs from the process, it really is quite disappointing, the impact of many of these programs.
So what do you think is the answer? Where do you think we should go?
Well, I think that one of the areas that is extremely promising is hybrids which take the best of the corporate research lab, the long time frames, the deep pockets, the staying power, and combine it with the best features of the venture capital model, the intensity, the focus, the real accountability. Well, certainly it's not new to have corporate venture programs. Much of the track record of these programs, they've gotten a bit of a bum rap in the sense that many venture capitalists, if you talk to them about this, will sort of look down and say, oh, remember that program that Exxon did, or and so forth, a few horror stories. But when you look at the broader set of evidence, it suggests that in actuality, these programs have done quite well, and that there's probably much more promise in terms of taking ideas from both menus and mashing them up in a way that combines the best of both.
So give me an example where we've seen the best of both working out.
Well, I think that one of the extremely interesting examples that's going on today is what's going on at GlaxoSmithKline. They were a typical pharmaceutical company with lots of programs being funded over very long periods of time, never really, very hard to kill off things. They took on a momentum of their own. So they've reconfigured things where it's much more working in small teams, where there's much more accountability. Groups have to go back and get refunded every 3 years. There's a review done not just simply internally, but bringing in venture capitalists, retired executives, academics to actually do the review process and introduce a kind of discipline and accountability that we much more associate with a venture capital kind of staging than with the sort of sleepy old world of pharmaceutical R&D, where it seems that, one of my friends always said it's harder at his drug company to end a program than it was back when he was a professor at Harvard to fire a tenured professor. So it's a very different kind of spirit, and it seems to actually be, at least the preliminary indications are making a real difference in how things are turning out.
So do you think that that's unique only to medicine, or do you think that same model could be applied elsewhere?
Well, I think that we can see, not a one-size-fits-all approach, but a variety of different things being taken. I think that, for instance, when you look at the experience of Intel and more recently Google, you see that they've done lots of efforts to reach out and fund, sometimes as a step towards an acquisition, sometimes for a collaboration, sometimes just simply to seed the market, funding young entrepreneurial companies. And I think that we see successes in IT, we see successes in life sciences. It suggests this is an approach that can work in a wide variety of fields.
Josh, thank you so much for coming into the Hub Culture Pavilion here in
It's
Davos.
really my pleasure. Thanks again.
I'm Edie Lush.